Hey guys, and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. My name is Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. This week I decided to go ahead and try to stick with 5 ingredient recipes, and I learned a lot and I made a lot of really good stuff, so let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so tonight for dinner we were having breakfast for dinner. Just as a heads up, I did give myself some freebies for these 5 ingredient meals. I just did obviously like water, salt, pepper, and olive oil, and just because I feel like everybody has at least salt, pepper, and some sort of oil in their house to cook with, so I kind of chose that as my freebies. But anyway, so what I had for the actual meal is the Everything Italian bread from Walmart, which is absolutely amazing. I love that stuff. Some cheddar cheese, some breakfast sausage. You could definitely use bacon if you wanted. And some eggs. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and brown up some sausage and just get all of that cooked through. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the sausage on some paper towel to drain off and scramble some eggs. I did wipe the pan out a little bit because I don't want too much fat in there. And then I went ahead and cut my bread in half, and I just started to kind of layer the sandwich with the cheese on the bottom and then on the top. Alright, so what I'm going to do is kind of make this like oven panini style. I wrapped this sandwich in foil, and then I kind of like slammed the heaviest pan I have on it. So I have like a Le Creuset style pan. So I went ahead and pushed it down as much as I could. And while it's baking, like when everything melts and the bread gets toasty, oh, so good. So that's what the sandwich looks like. And I did flip it once. I put it in the oven at 350 for 20 minutes, so 10 on each side, and I'll open it up and show you guys what it looks like on the inside. So that's what it looks like, all cut in half. This sandwich was amazing. It was also really huge, so we only ate half of it between the two of us because it is like literally a whole loaf of bread. But definitely super delicious, super easy, and only 5 ingredients. So this night I made some pork chops for dinner. So my 5 ingredients were pork chops, the mesquite marinade mix from Grill Mates, some honey barbecue sauce, mac and cheese, and a chopped salad kit. The chopped salad kit and the mac and cheese were definitely lifesavers for as far as a 5 ingredient meal goes. I was super excited to, kind of play around with what 5 ingredients really could be. So these are my 5 ingredients. Let's get started. So I marinated my pork chops overnight, and they were so flavorful. I went ahead and popped them in the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. So like I said, my chopped salad was definitely a cheat because there's a ton of ingredients in here, but that was so great to just kind of like I said, play around with it and see what you really can do for 5 ingredients. My grocery list was super easy this week too because it's just 5 ingredients for everything, so there wasn't anything crazy to shop for. But I'm going ahead and I am putting this chopped salad together. I'm cooking up my mac and cheese, and I'll show you guys the final product. Alright, so this is everything all plated up. Absolutely delicious. I went ahead and put some barbecue sauce on the pork chops when they came out of the oven and broiled them for a couple minutes. And this was such a delicious meal, super filling. And oh my gosh, that chopped salad was also out of this world. Super, super delicious. All of it was awesome. So tonight's dinner was something that I found off of Pinterest, and to my excitement, it only had 4 ingredients, so I was able to add in some Italian seasoning for myself, which was super exciting because look, my hardest thing with this 5 ingredient thing is not adding like 4 different types of seasoning to everything, so I'm trying to get better at that. But yeah, so I used some Italian seasoning, some frozen meatballs, mozzarella cheese, some biscuits, and some tomato sauce, and this was a meatball sub bubble up bake. So the directions were super easy and similar to like that monkey bread that I made last week, where you just have to cut the biscuits up into 8 pieces. I don't know, does it still freak you guys out every time you go to open up a biscuit can? My anxiety like flies through the roof at those things. They like freak me out. But anyway, so I'm just cutting up the biscuits in 8 pieces, and I'm gonna go ahead and mix that with some tomato sauce. The recipe says to put all the mozzarella cheese on top, but I went ahead and put a little bit in this actual mixture myself. And then I'll add the meatballs later and you guys will see how I do that. So like I said earlier, I'm going to go ahead and put the meatballs down in this, but I wanted to show you guys, I just have it in a 9x13 dish, and I'm just like putting out, I didn't really count like how many meatballs, I just put them where I thought that they would go best, and I didn't want to like overdo it with the meatballs, so I just, you know, kind of pushed them down in the sauce a little bit and topped everything with cheese and popped it in the oven. Oh my goodness, you guys, this was so good. The only thing that I would say is that I would scale back on the sauce a little bit because it was kind of like wet towards the middle, but this was so good, and the cheese was like all brown and bubbly on top, and it just looked really good, and it tasted even better. So yeah, definitely a keeper, and it can also just be served with like a quick Caesar salad on the side. It was like, oh, it was delicious. Alright, so tonight is sheet pan dinner night. I am making some chicken with potatoes, pepper, and some asparagus. I also picked up this McCormick one sheet pan seasoning it's like the farmer's market blend. So that was actually really, really good. I'm really impressed with how many different flavors came out of that one little seasoning packet, and I'll show you how I put it together. So I went ahead and I sprinkled some seasoning over everything here on the sheet pan, and I went ahead and put it in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes at 400 degrees. And I took it out and added the asparagus and put it back in the oven for another 10 or 15 minutes. It just depends on the doneness. Like the potatoes, some of them were giving me a hard time, so I kept it at like 15 minutes. But I just went ahead and, like I said, put in the asparagus last because usually the asparagus tips will burn, like if I keep them in the oven too long. So I just put those in last, and I sprinkled those with seasoning too, and then I sprinkled them or drizzled olive oil on them, and then I thought that was a good idea for everybody, so I put some olive oil all over everything in the pan. But yeah, and then I went ahead, put it back in, like I said, for 15 minutes, and then took it out, and it was done. Alright, so this is what it looked like coming out of the oven. The asparagus still had a little bit of like crunch to it. It was really, really good, not like mushy or anything. And you know, I had the chicken in here, potatoes, peppers. If I had my way, I would have put onions and stuff in there, but this is a 5-ingredient meal. But I really encourage you guys, look at your sheet pans, see what you can throw in there, and you just skip so much like hassle making dinner with sheet pan meals. They're just so good. So for tonight's dinner, I am making a chicken and rice bake in the oven. I'm using my leftover like roasted vegetables as a side. Obviously using some minute rice. The recipe calls for regular rice, but I read a lot in the comments about their rice not being done, so I didn't want to take any chances. So I'm just using minute rice, some Lipton onion soup mix, cream of celery. The recipe calls for cream of mushroom, I believe, but that's a no-no for me. So cream of celery and then some chicken. So if you follow the recipe, unlike me, ever, it just tells you to kind of just like put the rice in there and then sprinkle over the onion soup mix and all that stuff. I was so paranoid after reading all the reviews because everybody said it was like good, but almost like probably like 6 out of 10 people said that the rice wasn't cooked. So I decided to mix all the liquids with the rice in a bowl. Because it does call for water as well that I didn't picture, but it's water. So I mixed all that together and just kind of surrounded my chicken with it. And I did season my chicken on both sides with salt and pepper. And I went ahead and threw this in the oven. All right, so I'm just taking this out of the oven now. You guys will see it when I take the foil off. And I went ahead and warmed up my asparagus and potatoes that were left over. This was good. It was good. It was very flavorful because of that onion soup mix, but it just seemed like it was missing something to like pull it all together. And I hate to be that person and be like, it was cheese, because like I know cheese isn't great for you, but it was cheese. Like I felt like this needed like a little something. Like I don't know what I would say, like maybe, I don't know, I feel like I needed something else, but it was pretty good. It was really good for a 5-ingredient recipe. I'm not hating, it was good. I just, like I said, like I felt like it was like missing something, but still in the long run pretty good. Alright, so for our last meal here, I'm going to be doing a veggie ramen stir fry type dish. I have been asked a couple of times about putting some, meatless meals on here, so I decided why not. And, if you want to, you can obviously just add chicken or beef to this. I am going to be using some mushrooms, some fresh mushrooms, because if you cook them right, they can give off like a beefy flavor. So even for someone that is a meat eater, that just doesn't want to have meat that day, or has somebody in the family that's vegetarian, you can still make this and have the like meatiness of the like flavor, but use mushrooms instead. So I'm going to show you how to cook those. And then also I'm going to be using the oriental flavor of ramen, so I'm going to eat 2 packages of that. I'm counting that as 1 ingredient, so I mean you can count it against me if it's not, but whatever. And I'm going to be using some cornstarch, some green onions, and this super awesome sugar snap pea stir fry mix from Great Value. Loved it. It was so good. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start by cooking my mushrooms first, and I'm going to cook them alone in the pan without anything else in it, just so I can brown them up really nicely. A tip that I learned, and I think I learned this from like Rachel Ray when I was younger, is that if you salt mushrooms, it's going to draw the liquid out of them. So she would always, like whenever I would watch her, she'd always add the salt afterwards. So I didn't season these until afterwards. I just put them in the pan, a super hot like dry pan, and I just let them kind of like roast and brown up on their own with nothing in them. I did add a little bit of olive oil after I was making sure that there was no liquid in them, just to go ahead and get them to brown up nicely. So you can see like they look really good and they're really nice and browned. They are really good like this. I don't usually love the texture of mushrooms, but this is a really good way to make them. So now that the mushrooms are all nice and browned up, I'm going to go ahead and remove them from the pan so they can retain their own flavor and just kind of be, like set apart, like as if like how meat would be. So I'm going to go ahead and cook up my ramen and get my veggies in there. So once my noodles were cooked through, I went ahead and added in the veggies from the bag. Like I said, you guys, I really can't say enough about these. They were so good, and for the value, it was $1.50 for all of them. I used like half the bag only. It was so good. So anyways, I went ahead and added in my little cornstarch slurry once I had gotten all the moisture off of those, and I chopped up some green onions for a little bit of freshness and as a garnish. And yeah, that was it. Pretty much dinner for that night. I didn't like take a good video of it, but I do have a picture of it. Alright, so here it is all plated up. Like I said, the veggies were outstanding. I like this flavor of ramen, so it was good. Even the meat eaters like Josh and my mom enjoyed it, so this was definitely a really good vegetarian option for us. Alright guys, that's going to do it for me this week. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you guys got some inspiration from this 5-ingredient challenge that I'm doing. I really, I learned a lot. I definitely learned that like I have a problem when it comes to just like adding things in. But you guys already have seen that. If you've been watching me, I always add random things into recipes. But this was good. Like I said, like I learned you can really do a lot with 5 ingredients, and especially like my little cheat ones with like the veggie packs and the salad and stuff. But yeah, so like I said, hope you guys got some inspiration here. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and definitely don't forget to subscribe for more. I hope you guys have a blessed and awesome week.